I'm Kathleen Kane for AM 640, FM 102.7, and FM 104.5 here in the Villages. And we are starting to talk with some of your favorite bands that we're missing out on the squares. We've received some emails and some of your letters and saying, what are they doing? Well, we're going to start out with the Hooligans. I love that name. And we have Paul on the phone. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Kathleen, how are you?
I'm good. And Paul, you are the guitar player. Are you also the band leader?
I would not call myself the band leader. That would be Kurt. I'm the bald-headed guy with the beard.
Okay. All right. But you were the one who emailed me, so we're going to talk with you a little bit.
Great.
Now, how's everyone doing? You know, I had a chance to meet some of you about a year ago at the polo field, and some of your family members were there. How's everybody faring through this time?
We're all doing really well, considering. Obviously, we would really prefer to be back to work. 3 of the 4 of us make our living playing music. We don't do anything else. And so that has been a challenge, but we've all stayed safe. We've done our part quarantining and making sure we don't contribute to the spread. And so, you know, the time with our families has been invaluable. I know I can speak for myself, and I can also speak for the other guys. Just being at home with our families, with our kids, just enjoying that time that we otherwise would not have had in our previous busy schedules has been a real blessing. We're doing just fine considering.
That's a great positive way to look at it. Now, here in the Villages, people love the Hooligans. So why don't you take us back and give me just a quick story on what brought you all together.
Well, Matt, the drummer, and I've been playing with Matt for the better part of 16 years now. Matt and I started playing together in an original band in Orlando back when we had stars in our eyes and we were trying to get a record deal and do the whole rock star thing. And we had a band called Megaphone. We started playing there together, and then shortly after we started that band, Matt got a full-time job out at Disney's Hollywood Studios, actually called MGM Studios at the time. And just the idea of having a full-time job playing music and having benefits, it seemed like the promised land. So I followed suit. So shortly after he joined the band, a few years later, I had an opportunity to join as well. So we played together out there for years. And Landon, the bass player in the Hooligans, he also was a player out there. And so as luck would have it, or fate, I don't know how you would classify it, but when Disney decided to close that show, Kurt just happened to be moving from Las Vegas to Orlando. Kurt's wife went to high school with Matt, and coming into town, and Kurt being a full-time musician and us being full-time musicians, freshly out of work, we all needed to get to work. And Kurt and Matt and I think the first week that Kurt was in town, we were already in the rehearsal space, starting to rehearse and getting a feel for each other. And to be quite honest with you, as far as business relationships go, there isn't anything better. The 3 of us really just kind of clicked, became friends very quickly. And we've got multiple bands. Some people might recognize us as the Spasmatics out at the Villages. Some folks might recognize Matt and I in American Martians. That's the band that was out at Hollywood Studios for so many years. We just changed the name and kept on going. So our whole philosophy has been, it's a whole lot easier to keep several different bands booked a few days a month and make it a full-time schedule than it is to have one band and have that booked 5 days a week. That's just not really a real scenario anymore. So we've been very successful diversifying ourselves. That's all really been led by Kurt and his ideas. We've got a 90s band called Anti-Idol. There's the Hooligans, which is all British. There's the Spasmatics, which is all 80s, and it's a show. You know, we've got American Martian, and we've got another acoustic trio called Acoustic Edge. And so we've got all of these different projects, and we just throw everything at the wall, and whatever sticks is, what pays our bills.
That's what my mother always used to say. That was one of her favorite expressions. What was it like when you first came to the Villages and you performed here? Because, we do have the best audiences in the world right here.
Without question. Honestly, our first experience playing as the Hooligans in the Villages was, it's hard to describe as anything other than just kind of meant to be. This was the crowd that we were meant to be playing in front of. There is so much appreciation in the Villages, not only for live entertainment, which is unfortunately just not the norm, especially in Orlando where we're from, but also the love of the music that we are playing.
Right.
For a lot of the folks out there, this is the music that they grew up listening to. It's all British rock from the 60s through the 90s. And it's music that I grew up listening to as well. I remember I was a little late to the party, but in high school, when I found out about Led Zeppelin and really started digging into that catalog, it blew my mind.
Right.
And all of the pop and the junk that had been coming out in the 80s really took a back seat to what I consider to be true, real rock and roll. And that is a sentiment that is very clearly shared with our friends in the Villages. And yeah, when we showed up at the Villages and started developing a crowd, it was every bit of what we could have hoped it would have been.
It goes back and forth. We're talking with Paul from the Hooligans. Now, you love the Villages so much, you just recently wrote a song called The Village.
I did.
I'm not a poet and I'm not your muse. I love some rock and roll, pirate, nothing much to do. I put the pedal to the metal till the 301. I got a trunk full of racket and a flask full of fun.
When this whole quarantine thing started, we're all sitting on our hands. Just what do? We play music, not just to pay the bills, but also I'm a firm believer in find what you love to do and then figure out how to make money doing it. So first thing is do what you love, and that's playing music. So we all decided how cool would it be to use this time that we have to record a record. And that's exactly what we did. Matt and Kurt and I, we all sat down and each of us wrote a couple tunes, just original songs. And then we decided on 4 covers that we would put on the record. And the idea being that, we had to pay for the licensing to record and release the covers. But the original stuff is ours. We didn't have to pay anything for that. So it's a nice little bridge between our cover material that the folks are used to hearing us play, particularly in the Villages, but then also, the original tune. So I sit down and I'm going to write a song for a Hooligans record. What am I going to write a song about? Well, as I just explained to you, the best audience in the world is for us. The audience we're meant to be in front of is the folks in the Villages. But I also tried to make sure that the song spoke to something more than just the community in the Villages, which is why I call it The Village. It's not called The Villages.
Right.
It's written absolutely inspired by our reception and our experience in the Villages.
Right.
But it is just an ode to people who love to come to live shows and hear great rock and roll played at a high volume.
Right.
And that is what we deliver every single time. And so, yeah, I wrote a song called The Village.
Okay.
And, it was a whole lot of fun.
How can people get a hold of it? How can people see it?
Well,
How can people hear it?
You can buy the record. Right now, it's just a download. Once we get back to playing in the squares, we will absolutely have CDs available for sale. But in the meantime, you can buy a download of the record at our website, thehooligansorlando.com. So if you go there, we've got a store and you can buy all of our music. You can buy our T-shirts and koozies and whatever we have in stock.
Great.
So we did make a video for the song as well, and you can see that on our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube, and just do a search for the Hooligans Orlando, you'll find our YouTube channel, and there it is. There's our promo video, our video for the Village. We'll be adding more material as we go.
Awesome. Well, we've been talking with Paul from the Hooligans, one of your favorite bands, out on the squares. We can't wait for you to get back and everything kind of get back to some normalcy. Thank you so much, Paul, for talking with us today, and glad that you and the guys in the band and everyone's families, that you're all doing so well.
Oh, absolutely. And it's been my pleasure, Kathleen. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Take care. I'm Kathleen Kane for AM 640, FM 102.7 and FM 104.5 here in the Villages.